I'll go next. Heidi, what did you want us? I'm sorry. I was
Just like your name, kind
I'm
of who you
multitasking.
are, what you do, what you hope to get out of this.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Jennifer Cunha. I am the Executive Director of Special Services at the ESD. I actually started my career working with K3 students who were non-ambulatory and nonverbal. And so I did my master's thesis on showing that every child can learn how to read. But that was 7,432 years ago. So I believe the
Oh,
science has changed since then. So I'm here to learn what is the latest and greatest.
all right. How about Molly? Do you want to go?
I'm Molly Wickens. I am a resource room teacher for our K through 8 programs. I have remote programs, homeschool and virtual academy kiddos. And I guess I'm interested to hear how I can make this stuff work with kiddos in the situation I'm in.
Okay, perfect. What about Taylor?
I'm Taylor Reed. I'm at CK School District at Ridgetop Middle School with sixth, seventh, and eighth grade intensive learning services, the kind of moderate to severe students. And I took this course just to kind of get a better understanding or just have more tools in my toolbox to just kind of figure out how to better serve my students with writing.
Perfect. Christine.
Hi, I am at Crescent, and I am the Title I lab teacher, and kind of what has been said before by Taylor, just learning some new ways to be able to implement and support the students that I work with, and I work with K through 5.
Nice. And Paloa. Welcome, everybody.
Hi, I'm Paula. I am with the ESD. I am a behavior specialist and a practitioner coach. I am here to learn to how to better support students, but also practitioners and bring back resources for them to be able to use as well.
And you pronounce your name Paula, is that correct?
Paula or Paula, whichever one.
Okay, okay.
Yes.
I got it wrong regardless.
No, it's fine. Anything but payola. I always say that. Anything but payola.
And then Wendy.
Hello, I'm Wendy. I'm at CK High School paraeducator. I'm looking forward to picking up anything that will help with our students because they are of all different levels and everybody can do everything. We just got to meet them where they are.
Perfect. Awesome. Katie, what about you? Oh, sorry, we've got two Katies, so whichever one goes first.
I'll
And the next
go.
one can go.
I'm Katie Sykes. I teach at Crescent School. I'm a middle school teacher. And we're a super small school, K-12. So we have like 220 students or something like that. But I have some students with significant learning disabilities, and I teach middle school, if I didn't say that. But I am here to just learn some tools to help my students.
Awesome. Other Katie.
Hi, I'm Katie Jack. I work for the ESD in Bremerton, and I'm a teacher of blind and low vision students. I love being a student, so anytime I get to read and talk and have like an adult book club, I always love the opportunity to do that. And I also just I wanted to learn more from like across disciplines because a lot of the trainings I attend are really niche and really specific to the work of working with blind and low vision learners. And I love that this encompasses so many people, different people with so many different positions. So I'm excited to hear others' ideas and just learn.
Awesome. And what about Trina?
Sorry. Trina Grant. I'm at Ridgetop Middle School, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, intensive learning services, allegedly mild to moderate. And I'm super excited to see Heidi. Hi, Heidi. She started my whole special teaching, whatever education thing. And I'm extra excited to see Paula too. Oh, we miss you, Paula.
Nice. And what about you, Kay?
I'm Kay Adams. I'm at CK High School teaching one of the transition programs, the 18 to 22-year-olds. Excuse me. Most of my experience is K through 3, so it's kind of a new some of my new challenges are with the 18 to 22-year-olds that will be with us till their 22nd birthday, but still trying to get them to understand reading and make it interesting and engaging rather than dry and boring. So that's why I'm here.
Nice. Laura, do you want to go next?
Hi there. I'm also here from the ESD as the ELA coordinator in Bremerton. And of course, I'm here because literacy and learning and reading, just being able to, again, like Katie said, be a part of a lifelong learning community, as well as applying the skills and supporting the teachers and leaders in our region. So I'm excited to build my skills.
All right. What about Emily?
Hi, my camera's not working, but my name is Emily Fulmer. I'm an intensive learning services teacher at Silver Ridge, servicing kids in kindergarten through 5th grade.
All right. And Harper.
Hi, sorry, my camera's also not working. I'm trying to figure it out, but I am at CK Middle School. I am with the AAS program, the Academic Adaptive Service Supports, and I'm with grades 6 through 8.
Welcome. And Rebecca? Right. Well, Rebecca's might be finishing up the day. What about you, Claire?
Hi, I'm Claire Harris. I also work at Crescent School District with Katie and Christine, and I'm a paraeducator and interested in expanding my toolbox to help facilitate kids with disabilities in their reading and writing.
Nice. What about you, Brooke? Oops, your voice isn't working for some reason. You can put it in the chat. So we've got S. Smith. I'm not sure what your first name is, but she's there with Faith. He or she is there with Faith, and they're a team of teachers working with 9th through 12th graders, and they're excited to learn new strategies. Allison sounds like she's got some Wi-Fi giving her some grief. I know with all the power outages and stuff from the big storm. What about, I think Bridget is the last one. And if I missed you, just chime in.
Hi, I'm Bridget. I am an ILS teacher at Central Kitsap High School. And I think like everybody here, I'm just hoping to have more tools for my toolbox for these learners who often are not reflected in the whole. Thank you.
Perfect.
And I'm Allison Graham. I'm here. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, good. And I am also a 9 through 12 teacher at CK High School. And what I am hoping to learn from this is to get a few more tricks and tips, because our students, once they get to high school, have learned their own little tools to how to read. And I just want to make sure that they're reading and not tricking me with their magic. So.
Okay, perfect. And Harper, did I call on you as well?
Yes, you did.
Okay, sorry. Okay, well, we've got a lot to cover, so I'm gonna go ahead and get us started. First of all, I am so excited that you all are here. So I don't know if you can see my book or not, but I'm kind of blurred. Let me unblur my background there, maybe. I've got so many things open on top of each other. Hold on 1 second, I'm going to move this. All right, so this is my book. It is very well loved. It has been all over the place, and it even has my to-do list in it. I have one in my office at work, and I have one in my office at home, and I use it almost every single day. So I hope you all learn to love it as much as I do. All right, can you see my screen now with slide 1?
Yes.
Can you still see it? Now you can't see it, right?
No.
Okay, so I'm losing all of you when I share my screen. So Jennifer, if you can watch for any reactions or anything, that would be great.
I can do that.
Okay, there we go. All right, so typically we do this book study over the course of a whole school year. And since we're, 100 days or so into our school year, we're going to kind of do this express. The one thing I know people are still waiting to get their books. And so I'm hoping that if you haven't read or you haven't had your book, go ahead and come, because we'll get enough information that you can kind of, learn a little bit and then participate in the discussion. If you can get through the readings, it's great. It is I found it very easy to read because Dr. Erickson is an amazing, and Dr. Copenhaver are both excellent authors. And it's written in a way that tells us all the things that we did wrong in a way that's not judgy and empowers you to do better. And so for me, there's a lot of stories, a lot of personal stories from them. So I'm hoping you'll just really enjoy the book as much as I do. So the agenda, we're going to do a little bit of an orientation of the landing page, and then we're going to do a Padlet orientation, which I did not get open here, but we'll get that open. Talk about the professional growth plan that you can do in addition to your 12 clock hours. Have our discussion and kind of go through the resources. So I've been posting the landing page in the chat. The landing page is going to be your where to go for everything. So it is going to have, the slide deck for each session, and then the recording for each session will be on there. And then I'm going to continue to work on adding and cleaning up the resources here, but it'll have all of your resources that we kind of talk about on there. So that will be that. The Padlet, I'm not sure how many, I can actually see you now. Can you give me a thumbs up if you've used a Padlet before? Okay, so we'll do a quick review. Sarah, I will email you that landing page so you have it. You'll just, every week we'll just kind of send that out again if that will work for you. So Padlet is, it's just a way to kind of do some discussion that we can kind of keep and kind of go from there. So it just is a way to have a collaborative discussion. So if people have missed the session, they can go ahead and put some stuff in there. I'd like for people to just go in and just as you have time, go in and kind of introduce yourself on here. So we kind of have this running document. So lots of introductions today. And then one of your major takeaways from the introduction and something that challenged or scared you from chapters 1 and chapter 2. So that's kind of what, and to use it, you would just, so if I was going to do something, I would just click here. And then you would just write something right here and it goes right on the Padlet when you hit publish. So it's super easy to use. So it's just great to have that so we can look back on like what we've learned and just see if anybody had some really cool takeaways. So the thing I don't know if you know about this, I was new to learning about it for several years ago, and it's a professional growth plan through OSPI, and you can earn 25 additional free clock hours for the work that you're going to be doing, learning how to incorporate and implement comprehensive literacy for all your students. And so you go in and there's a template, you fill out that form. When you're done at the end of the school year, you attach your, you kind of type in what your evidence is. And then you have an educator, so maybe a friend you're doing this with or a friend who knows you're doing it, just sign off and review it and sign and say you did it. And then you turn in the verification form according to your district's procedures and record it in the OSPI e-certification. So there's the link and everything for that on the slides. You can do one of these a year, so that ends up being enough clock hours to, renew your certification. So it's a great free resource. All right, so let's start with this symbolated text. This is the one where everybody has the most questions. So we're kind of going from the introduction, and they just kind of teased us a little bit with this. And we're not going to go super deeply into this because one of the chapters will follow that. But just these are the introduction really kind of sets the tone for, what is this book really looking at? And I think it's probably one of the most important sections of the book. So definitely make sure if you haven't, you get to read the introduction. But I've used symbolated text. So it's common practice for us to symbolate the text for students with significant disabilities. And so that means we put pictures and words. The research supports the idea that symbols are wonderfully supportive in face-to-face communication. But if you want to teach children to read and write, then you must use traditional orthography, traditional words and letters. So the picture on the bottom right, anybody want to take a stab at what that says? I'm going to tell you, I probably don't know either. So, but see if you can get anything. We'll have some bigger ones. But the symbols aren't going to help you become a reader is basically what this is saying. And when you have the words with the symbols, it's even more confusing because your eye is going back and forth from the word to the symbol. So if we're looking at teaching reading, it's not going to help teach, help students learn how to read. It's actually going to hinder that. So something to kind of think about is how can we make those materials accessible without using symbolization? So anybody get through chapter 1 and have any ideas for that? So we will cover that further, but something to kind of think about. Oh, I'm using symbolated text. Is there a way I can make it accessible without using symbolization? And we will answer that more next time. So something to kind of keep in the back of your head there. All right. So teaching emergent literacy. So I'm going to kind of start here. What I've come to realize as I've done my study on this book and my work with Dr. Erickson, I've been to several of her classes, is, typically developing students come to us with hundreds of thousands of literacy touches. They've been read to, they've been able to practice like scribbling and writing. And our kids who come to us with complex learning needs or complex extensive support needs because of their very complicated body. Or, even our autistic students who just that joint attention is very hard and they've got so many sensory issues that they come to us and they haven't gone through the emergent stages of literacy, of reading and writing. And we jump right in and start trying to teach them conventional reading and writing. And by doing that, we've kind of jumped past a whole developmental stage. And so what the purpose of this book is really to teach us how to go back and teach those emergent skills, and then look at kind of helping them move through to become conventional readers and writers. So we don't know how to teach, just kind of true. Before this book, we didn't know how to teach all children with significant disabilities to read and write at a third grade level by the end of third grade. But we do know that any efforts to assist all students in learning to read and write better have led to important outcomes and contributed positively to the quality of their lives. So having literacy skills, just pop in the chat if you would. How does that improve someone's quality of life, being able to read and write? Access information, independence and autonomy, relay information. They can make choices. They can interpret the world around them, communicate with others, accessibility in public signs, transportation, etc., express themselves. Reading allows us to increase our information intake. Writing lets us codify our thoughts. Job opportunities, yes, Lisa, impact all areas of life from professional to personal. Independence and safety. Reading is everywhere. Community signs, menus, while entertaining, comic books, subtitles, access to leisure, adventure and communication. Awesome. So what we're doing in our district, I'm doing a monthly kind of PD training. And so this month we watched the documentary, The Right to Read. And it's put together by the NAACP. And they talk about reading being the ultimate civil right. And that we're in the information age, and if you can't read, you don't have access to the information. And those were kind of two really powerful takeaways. And looking at students of color, they are much more significantly impacted when they're not able to read and write. So being able to make choices, do your medical care, advocate for yourself, all of those things are understand what people are asking you to sign. Those are all really important. So everyday comprehensive literacy instruction, this is what it looks like. It requires the ability to decode and identify words, and writing requires the ability to spell words, but teaching students to spell words is pointless if it is not done as part of a comprehensive approach to instruction that recognizes that reading with comprehension and writing to convey meaning are the ultimate reasons for teaching decoding and spelling. So again, looking at us, often putting like the cart before the horse is we're going to they don't have those emergent experiences, but we're going to go right in here and teach some of these skills. So kind of taking a step back and really teaching them how to be readers and writers, what the function of the skill is. Any initial thoughts? You can share them on the Padlet. But if you want to chime in with any initial thoughts as well from the introduction, go ahead and unmute or put it in the chat. And while you're doing that, I'm going to just keep us going, just because trying to cover 3 parts is a lot. If you feel like it's going too fast or we need to stop, please let me know. I know a lot of you haven't received your books yet. So when you get your books, you can go back to the Padlet. All right. Chapters 1 and 2 are kind of setting the tone for the book, that all children can learn to read and write. And establishing the environment for literacy is successful for literacy learning. So that's kind of the titles and kind of what's going on with those. And I just want to put this out there because I think as we go through this book study, I want this to be kind of our mantra. Do the best you can until you know better. And then when you know better, do better. Because what we're going to find as we read through this book is there are a lot of things that we've done that the research really doesn't support that improves reading or writing. And we're going to learn all these great tools and strategies to be able to do this better. And so just, be kind to yourself. Don't feel like you have to reinvent everything, but just know, okay, I know some new things that work better and I'm going to try them. Does that make sense? All right. So again, I'm going to have you go to the Padlet later and do your prompt for that after you've had a chance to get your books. And then I'm going to summarize chapter 1. So summary of chapter 1, it was the theoretical rationale is that emergent literacy is all of the reading and writing behaviors and understandings that precede development into conventional reading and writing. So I, if you think about this, think about like if you have children or you've been around typically developing young children, how they learn to read and write, and kind of all the models. So an example I have is my daughter was a crazy writer from like the get-go. And so we would be on vacation and she always had to have a notebook and a pencil or a pen or a marker or something. And when I was going through things and kind of organizing like what we were going to keep and what we were going to get rid of when we went through her room as she went to college, I found like notebook after notebook, excuse me, of just scribbles all over the page. And I remember we'd be like on vacation and she'd just be scribbling away and I would be like, wow, what did you write? And we'd hear this wonderful, amazing story. And that was how, she learned the function of writing, why we write. And then you'll see little kids and young kids, and they'll be going through the book and they'll be like, even just like making noises to the different pages that might be in the intonations of when you read it, or they might be making up the story as they go through. And those are all those emergent literacy touches that, those are the behaviors and understanding that precede that conventional literacy. We need to learn the function of reading and writing before we learn the form of reading and writing. And so often, as an OT, that was a big aha moment for me because it's like, oh, I have this kid who's struggling with writing and I'm going to work on letters and it's just not getting better. And it's like, and I just let him scribble and do whatever and then tell me the story. It was like, oh, okay. We've got to go back and teach that form. And then they understand why. I've got to go back and teach that function. And then they understand why we're working on the form and the skills to do that. Does that make sense? Okay. So I would say reading and writing, especially both are very, very complex skills. And they involve a lot of parts of the brain and a lot of parts of the body to kind of make them happen. And it all happens together. So it's not like we learn how to read over here and how to write and how to speak and how to listen. They're all happening at the same time and they interact with each other. And, it's hard to tell what piece of learning is happening when. And so when we've got our students who are, don't have our AAC users who don't have that speaking ability, there's a whole piece of their cup that you have to fill that's a little bit extra. So just know that they're all kind of married and blended and happen at the same time and they interact with each other and they make, those 4 skills are really kind of what make the magic happen. And we've got to be sure we fill all those cups for our students. So literacy exists on a continuum that begins before birth, and the only prerequisite to teaching literacy is breathing, is to be alive. And it's kind of funny because when we were pregnant with both of our kids, but my husband, my son especially, my husband would read to him all the time. And when I was pregnant, and he would just kick and go crazy whenever that happened. And so when I read this in the book, I was like, he really was getting those literacy touches. He was hearing, so this is what the research kind of shows. And then I've already kind of talked a lot about learning the functions of literacy, and not just the forms. They need to explore all those real world writing contexts from the beginning. So like, even if you're texting or using emojis, or, they see us read and they see us write. And that's how they learn to kind of, that those are fun, important things to do. And we do those things with them as well. Okay, a couple quotes from chapter 1. Any questions so far? Because I feel like I'm flying through things. So if you have questions, or you have some opinions that you want to share that are not quite the same, I'm happy to. I want to have a discussion, and I want this to be a safe place for us all to learn together. All right, if it comes in the chat, I will watch for it. So emergent literacy is highly dependent on the nature, frequency, accessibility, and interpretability of experiences with print. Got Allison, like, as soon as she gets her hot little hands on her book, she will. So perfect. So any thoughts about this quote? We've kind of talked about it a little bit, but anybody have any thoughts that they'd like to share? Well, I'm hoping when we get more book, we're all a little more chatty.
So I have a student that he doesn't know all his letters. I mean, he can't identify them all. He certainly can't write any letters, but he will tell a story that is this long, and his auditory memory is absolutely phenomenal. But that inability to actually read things for himself, and that inability to write down what he's doing, it just makes it so challenging trying to teach him writing when I can't go back and reference what he's written. We scribe for him, but I can't go back and say, well, right here where you wrote this, let's, I can't visually show him. And it's frustrating for me because I don't know how to help him improve his expression.
So hopefully you'll get some nuggets from this, Trina, because that's really hard. I've worked with so many of those kids, and it's just really, really hard. So hopefully you'll get some nuggets as we kind of go through the book. Thank you so much for being willing to share. I feel like I cut you off a little bit there. Okay.
That was all I had.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about what comprehensive literacy instruction is, because I know for me this was new. Some of you who are teachers, this may not be so new, but it's 5 different activities that happen, ideally happen as a little part of every day. So there's shared reading, which is where we read with a student, and we'll be digging deeper and deeper into what that is going to look like. Actually, let me just double check what my next slide is. Okay, no. Okay, so there's shared reading, shared writing. Shared writing is one of my favorite things to do with students. And I'm excited for you to kind of learn about that. But that's when we're kind of all working together as a group to do some writing together. Alphabet knowledge and phonological awareness. So we're going to be looking at how to explicitly teach this, and how to teach it in a cycle that happens all year, and it's not like a one-time flyby. So, and then we're going to look at independent reading because even our littles flip through books, and that's our magazines or different things, and that's independent reading and independent writing. So we'll be looking at all of those things. So I'll be really excited. The chapters are kind of broken down into those things, and I'm really excited to kind of dive in to those. So looking at those areas, what area do you feel the most comfortable with? Are there any areas you feel the most comfortable teaching? So I can buzz back. I'll tell you, I already said shared writing is the one I feel the most comfortable teaching. And a little bit of the alphabet knowledge, I kind of have to work hard on the phonological awareness because I don't believe that's how I learn to read. So when I sit in for a phonics lesson, I always learn something new. Anybody else? What? Go ahead.
I was just going to say, back in the Stone Age when I was doing this, we spent all of our time on shared reading and phonological awareness. We did nothing with writing, nothing at all.
Okay. Anybody else?
I'm pretty comfortable with the areas, but more in a conventional setting, like students who are at grade level, you know, so I'm really excited to expand my skills with the emergent part.
Okay. And then we've got all three questions here. So you kind of answered both of them, Katie. So I'm going to just go through them all, and anybody who wants to chime in can answer whichever question they want. So what area are you looking forward to increasing your skills? I'm going to tell you, I'm always looking at being better at shared reading, because what I think is good at shared reading is really not where I want to be. So anyway, looking at that. And then which areas sounds the most challenging for our students with complicated bodies? So I'm going to give you a minute to kind of think about that and answer whichever question you would like to answer.
I think for me, the area that I found myself the most comfortable in is really honing in on the alphabetic knowledge and phonologic awareness and supporting students in that. And then the part in this setting that I've seen, because I went from a non-traditional setting to a traditional setting, the part that I've seen the most challenge here is really being able to hone in and give those targeted skills for kiddos to implement in the classroom as well. Because when you have, like, some of our classrooms have 22 kids in them, and you have kids that are still working on phonological awareness, and then you have other children that are reading chapter books. So finding ways that I can support the children that are doing, because I'm a Title I teacher, so finding the ways to support the children that are still working on that alphabetic awareness in a classroom, to where most children are working on, like, they're fluent readers. So finding ways to support that student while they're in the classroom.
Great, great. Anybody else want to share?
As Christina brought up, I do like a good buddy system. Like I like, you know, that quote kind of resonated with me because it's like you've got to find something that the student's going to be interested in reading. And then in turn, students are always paying attention to what other kids are reading. And I've always liked using a buddy. We'll just read this page to him and just see if he likes the book. And it's, a little tricky way to get one student to do reading out loud and then hopefully get the other student inspired. So it's kind of like Christine kind of started off with that, talked about that, but I'm all about a good buddy system.
Nice, nice.
I struggle with the independent writing. I think for a variety of reasons. I mean, for one, I have lots of students who are vehemently opposed to writing for a variety of different reasons. Sometimes it's the mechanical, sometimes it's the coming up with the ideas, sometimes it's both. And in my position, I might see a kid for 30 minutes a week. So to try and figure out what's most important to give to them, and to utilize at home, and then, okay, I'll see you in a week and we'll see how that went. It's so different from where I was previously, where I was seeing kids every day and we were building on those skills. And so I'm like, where's the most bang for my buck, I guess, basically, with these kids that I'm seeing so infrequently.
Yeah, I feel that a lot, especially as an OT, definitely where you're in there 20 minutes like once a week and hoping some things carry on in the classroom. So I totally get that, Molly.
Yeah, well, and my kids don't even have classrooms like, that I can go in and see. Their classroom is their home.
Their home, yeah.
I'm like, I have zero control over what goes on there.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, I feel that too. We've got some great comments in the chat. Paula said, based on observation and experience, writing is a challenging area for many students. Totally right. Sarah is looking forward to increasing independent skills and finding the balance of skills across their levels. But because that is the challenge, is we've got kids everywhere, and trying to figure out how to meet all their needs is a challenge. Brooke is looking at increasing her experience in phonological awareness to really help her kinders and first graders. So, yeah, awesome. Anybody else? Okay, I'm going to move forward. If I missed you, just pop it in the chat. Again, another great quote from chapter 1. Every day, give your students opportunities to engage in reading and writing experiences involving the purposeful use of text. And I think so often the activities that we're doing with students to kind of help them learn the form of writing are not purposeful activities, and meaningful to them. And alphabet knowledge and phonological awareness are important, but should not be the sole focus of literacy instruction. So some of our kids, especially some of our, kids on IEPs, often might have, that they're going to be able to, recognize 20 out of 25 letters of the alphabet, or, and that's like the focus of like their data collection is, and a lot of their instruction is that alphabet and phonological awareness, and not putting it in the context of literacy. Any thoughts on that one? Gonna have to make sure my email is turned off next time. Okay, chapter 2 again was looking at setting up that learning environment, establishing the environment for. I opened right up to chapter 2. Isn't that like crazy? And there's a quote in here. I don't think I have it in here, but it's in the first paragraph of chapter 2 when you get it. And I like to share this part of the paragraph when I do the book study, because for me, it was just like, oh my gosh, this is why this is so important to teach. So I'm going to go ahead and read this here. So just bear with me a minute. Students with disabilities are 2.5 times more likely to read below basic levels of achievement, 3 times less likely to read at proficient levels, and 5 times less likely to read at advanced levels than same age peers without disabilities. By grade 4, they are unlikely to make basic inferences, identify main ideas or the central problem in a work of fiction, or gather information from non-fiction texts. Only 1 in 10 individuals with severe communication and physical disabilities is able to read at the same levels as same age peers without disabilities. So I think that sets the tone for why we need to teach this. Any feelings when you hear that? Anybody have any feelings about that, or? makes me feel sad.
When I taught K through 3 or K2, K3, it was always a struggle. Like it was always a struggle to get my students in like with the gen ed classroom so they could be around the students because it seemed like if they didn't have the opportunity to get as much experience in reading in kindergarten and first, then that was like the cutoff date. Like second was so far advanced that they didn't get a strong enough foundation to understand it. And so it was it was so stressful because it's like, and when I moved from Texas to Washington, I'd like made sure that my kids were placed, it was like, here's the homeroom teachers I think these should be in. And it was always beneficial to have like the ELL teachers as their homeroom teachers because they had such a sliding scale of reading abilities in their class and they were using so many different modes of teaching that it was beneficial, but it was still so scary because it's like that that statistic hits home because it's so true, but the window is small to get to for them to be able to advance.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be that way. So I think that's what this book is going to tell us. It doesn't have to be this way. So in chapter 2, it talks about 10 essential elements for successful readers and writers. So one of the first is have knowledgeable others. So we have people who know how to teach emergent reading and conventional reading so that they can, be taught by people who know how to do this. And I think what has happened is so many of our kids have such complex needs with learning to read and write. And then if you add a complicated body or, sensory processing issues that significantly impact your ability to engage and focus on things, it's even harder. And I think a lot of us, I'm going to say, have not known quite how do we teach this. That's not been part of teaching programs. And there's not been any evidence published on that. And the Center for Disability and Literacy Studies, which is where Dr. Erickson and Dr. Copenhaver are from, have done a ton of research on this. So it's nice to be like, we've got some research here. They need to have a means of communication and interaction. So all of our non-speaking students need to have a robust communication so that they can actually work on that language piece that we talked about being so intermingled. We need to do repetition with variety. So we need to be like, not doing the same thing, the same file folder activity over and over and over again. We need to kind of shake things up so it, makes it more interesting and engaging to learn, and that they're cognitively engaged, that it's interesting. And that this one, number 5, was a big aha for me, is that cognitive clarity. We want them to understand why we're learning this. What's the reason of doing this? What am I going to get out of this? And then number 6, that personal connection to the curriculum, making it interesting and engaging and making sure they have the background knowledge so that they can make some connections with that. And we need to teach in an environment that encourages risk taking. Learning to read and write is hard. And if you have struggled for years, putting yourself out there to take a risk is really a scary thing to do. And if our students are going to learn to read and write, we have to have a significant time allocation. And we have to have comprehensive instruction and high expectations. So one of the things I'm going to ask everybody to do as part of this group is kind of my pet peeve is when someone says, oh, that student is so low. And I'd like for us to kind of commit to removing that from our vocabulary, because if we haven't given them all the things on this list, especially a means to communicate and interact, how do you know? How do you know what their functioning is? So I always presume potential. I have high expectations. And I have kids surprise me every single day, and you'll get to hear some of their stories as we go through this. So Yeah, so those are just the elements of the chapter 2 that you'll learn more about. I was going to do breakout rooms, but I don't think we really have time. We have like 5 minutes, so we'll kind of go through these slides and talk about them. Okay, so what was let me see what the prompt was here, sorry. Discuss with your group and share out. So let's just kind of like discuss kind of as a group. All children should regularly hear that they are smart, capable, and important. Every child should feel loved and valued. Any thoughts or experiences or something? Let's just, what does that mean to you when you hear it? Jennifer's like, absolutely.
For me, at my previous place of employment, I guess like the motto or the mantra that we would say for all students is all students are competent and capable. And that's kind of like we put that in there. We're like, nope, you are capable. They're like, I can't do something. You are so capable. You have a ton of tools, like really reinforcing that to kind of change the narrative that they had in their head. And
yeah.
Over the years, because we did preschool all the way up through 6th grade, like some of them like 8 years of hearing that, they're like, I know I can do it. I just don't feel like I can right now. To like hear a 5th grader say that of, I know I can, I just don't feel like it right now. Like they're acknowledging that it's hard right now, but they know they are capable of doing it. Was really cool.
Awesome. Allison says her students hear that every day. Way to go, Allison. Paula talks about it being a human right. Wendy, when they feel loved and accepted, they will trust the people around them and feel comfortable to learn and make mistakes. Yes. They will hear and they will hear and feel it to believe it. Yes. Especially those ones that are hard to love, because we all have some of those. I think they're the ones that kind of need it even more. And that sets that safe environment for them to, again, feel like they can put themselves out there to do something hard. None of us like to do things that are hard for us, and so making that environment. Trina's like, the hard ones are my favorite. Oh, they're probably mine too, Trina. Okay. And Claire talks about the relationships with the student is very important. Yeah, I totally agree. I had a OT assistant working with me once, and she was so focused on going and working on what the goals were, and she was having lots of behavior issues with the kids. And I'm like, I don't care if you do anything that looks like OT, just to develop a relationship with them, and then the OT will magically happen. And so she started really working on that, and she's like, oh my gosh, it's like really amazing. And so I think when you have that relationship, that makes the magic happen. Yes, great comments. Okay, let's talk about spelling. Spelling is a flexible and versatile skill that ultimately enables individuals with communication disabilities to communicate the widest array of the most precise messages to the greatest range of audiences. So I'm going to put that in like Heidi terms. So the most robust AAC system that a student can have does not have every word that they want to use. And the alphabet, learning the alphabet and learning spelling is really the most robust AAC system out there. So I'm not saying we want to change their AAC system to where it's just the alphabet. But we want to make sure that we're teaching those kids how to use the alphabet, because if they've got a yes, no, let's say some kind of nod or shake or eye movement, and something's wrong, and you can say, and they can tell you it's, they can get to like it starts with an S, you're going to figure out that their stomach hurts. And so they're going to be able to kind of advocate for themselves. I have a friend who's an adult with cerebral palsy, and she has very dysarthric speech and is hard to understand. So when she's around people, she has an alphabet board on her tray, and we kind of act like her word predictors. So it gives her the ability to say anything she wants to say when you can't understand her voice. So spelling is really important for all our kids to learn. Any thoughts on that one? All right, and I'm going to buzz through this one. I'm hoping next time we'll be able to get you guys engaged a little bit more. You'll have your books. We'll have the whole hour. We won't have to do the introductions, so that'll be great. Cognitive engagement grows when classrooms look less like worksheets and assessments and more like little places of personalized reading, writing with large in-class libraries, regular student publication, and high levels of student interaction. I think so often our students with disabilities, we test them to death because we have to collect that data and do those assessments. And so, and a lot of times they get, worksheets and, that aren't purposeful and meaningful in a way. So, and we'll talk a lot about publishing students' work because I'm pretty passionate about that as well. So figuring out how to up the ante and make it more interesting. Students learn better when they have reasons to put persistent effort into learning and can answer the question, what's in it for me? They learn better when teachers help them to make personal connections to the curriculum. How many of you have used that when you go to like a meeting or something, you've got like, what's in it for me? What am I going to get out of this? And if it's something that like we feel like we're really going to learn, we're like really engaged. But if it's like the same topic that we've covered in our professional development days over and over again, we're probably less engaged. We might be like flipping on our phone and doing some other things. So just upping that engagement. All right, next session will be chapters 3 and 4, and I didn't get the date on here, but it is in March.
March.
Go ahead.
March 12th.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I got a couple different things happening at the same time. So anybody have any thoughts, questions, something I can kind of help you with between now and then? If you haven't put your name and school in the chat, please do so. So we have that for our attendance and what school what district you work for. I'm so excited to have all of you here, and I'm so excited to, share and learn this with all of you. I think it's just going to be a great book study. So thank you so much for taking your time and being here. I'm going to stop my share. So I think we're good. And I really appreciate you guys again taking the time out of your busy, crazy days